What's up, everybody? Welcome to the YouTube podcast. It's going to be a good time today. It has a nice shirt that you're wearing, Wren.
Thank you, Niko. This is part of our new merch. This is our deconstructed logo shirt. It is, if you're watching like within a day of this coming out, it is still for sale. I highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can see it well on the broadcast. Oh, gosh.
Bonk. But that was going to be my shirt because we get samples in one of each size. But Wren took the medium home and washed it, making it his shirt now. And so...
It is mine now.
So I no longer have it, but I really like
I will
the
say
color.
You made me wear it.
Yes, and you were glad I did.
I am very glad.
Yeah.
We have a great podcast for you today.
You know, I just want to take a moment and talk about the corridor logo because this is the deconstructed corridor logo. And I was thinking about making a video about what the corridor logo is, like what it represents or what it's inspired by. But probably won't occupy a full video, but I'll do it at least here in the podcast.
People making fun of my line. Yes, I am glad.
So if you take a hallway, you imagine you're standing in a hallway, perfectly square hallway, and it's like a perspective drawing, right? So the lines of the hallway are going past you. And if you're to kind of fill in a C and a D by painting the walls, and then you tilt it on its side on the corner, you get the perspective of the corridor logo. Now, the thing is, you notch that out just a little bit, you get the font of a digital, like an LCD display or a digital font. And hence, you have the corridor, as in the perspective of looking down a corridor, and you have the digital, which is the digital font.
Yeah, what's interesting about that is that anytime ever anyone tries to recreate the corridor logo and they
always
just
get the
draw
perspective
it,
part
they
wrong.
make the lines vertical or horizontal.
Yeah,
They
they're not
don't
even
realize that the
sideways
lines of like the top of the logo, they're slightly outwards.
Yeah, there's a little bit of
They
diagonal.
all point to the actual center of the logo. It's like if you're to draw a line, if you're to put like a pin into the center of the logo and take a string outwards and rotate that around and use that to trace the lines, that would be a perspective logo, as opposed to just two parallel lines here, two parallel lines there. It's not the way.
Not the way. Yeah. Anyways, corridor logo, deconstructed corridor logo. It's a super sick shirt, and the cut is really nice. It's not a light t-shirt. It's like one of those fashionable heavy shirts.
It's a heavy shirt. It's kind of nice. I feel like a bodybuilder whenever I wear the shirt because that's, I guess, the vibe of bodybuilders. They wear thick shirts. I don't know.
At corridordigital.com, you can get one. That's the website. That's not where you get the shirts. Corridordigital.store. If you're listening to this podcast, it's a limited edition shirt. We're doing a lot more merch this year.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you are a website subscriber, you get 15% off the shirt. So if you're going to buy if you're literally going to buy one shirt, if you sign up on the website and use your coupon code for 15% off, your website subscription becomes free.
Yep, it pays for itself. And if you're buying more expensive things like hoodies or maybe a few different items of merch, it'll pay for many months, if not the whole year.
Yeah. So just there you go.
Consider
that. All right.
So yeah, I wanted to talk about the Oscars from Sunday night just a little bit because we this year did our first Oscars React episode.
You got your predictions right.
What?
You nailed your prediction about Dune 2 getting the Oscar.
No, we had the same.
But you picked Wicked?
I picked Wicked.
Oh, I thought you picked Dune.
Jordan Allen did.
Oh, he got it right.
Yeah, he did.
You were going to pick Dune, and then
I was going to, and then at the last moment, I was like, "Oh man, the popular kid always wins." And then that's when Jordan was like, "That's the song."
Yeah.
I don't know. It was one of those moments where I was like, "Man, I'm losing confidence in the Academy viewers. They're probably gonna go for Wicked. I should have just stuck to my guns because the whole time I was like, it's gonna be Dune. Like months leading up to React,
or constantly saying
React. Wow, months leading up to the Oscars, I was like, it's gonna be Dune. It shouldn't be Dune because I think Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes has far superior effects, and I think they're very, very, very tasteful and well executed. But you know, Dune's got the cinematography.
Yeah, and
It's got the art direction. And that's exactly, I don't think it made it into the episode, but I remember pointing out, it's like Denis Villeneuve directed Dune. He also directed Blade Runner. Both of those movies got the VFX Oscar instead of a Planet of the Apes movie. War for the Planet of the Apes was up for it against Blade Runner 2049 and also lost.
Yeah.
Poor Weta. It's okay. Weta's... They're fine. They just won.
What is fine?
They just won the Oscar the previous year for Avatar 2.
So many
it's
Oscars.
Fine. But yeah, it just goes to show that it's like when it comes to the Oscars, technical prowess comes secondary to artistic taste.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's the VES awards that are where the true technical achievement awards are. And of course, Kingdom basically swept.
And it's always worth keeping an eye on the BAFTAs also.
Also, shout out to freaking the Robbie Williams flick. What was
Better
the name of
Man.
that? Better
Yeah,
Man.
Better Man.
Better Man also had like incredible effects. I still cannot forget just leaving the movie and trying to think, what were the effects in this movie? Why is this an effects movie? And it's like, oh yeah, there's almost 2,000 VFX shot on it because every single shot has a freaking ape in it with
Yeah.
eyebrows. And there's a scene where he shaves his hair.
I just can't believe how many Oscar nominees we had on the couch this year leading up to the Oscars.
40%. Which is honestly pretty sick. It was for both Kingdom and Better Man. But also we had, what was his name, Robin from DNEG, when he came by to look at the first Dune movie a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he worked on Dune 2, but
And we also had the
same
Wallace
team.
and Gromit team.
Yeah, that was sick.
Yeah.
That was sick.
Look at that. Multi-category VFX nominees coming to react. Heck yeah. Anyways.
They're like, please, sir, can we get some views?
Sorry, I'm tooting my own horn just a little bit, but it's pretty cool.
The unofficial amateur marketing arm of these VFX companies.
But yeah, apparently we don't have the sway we thought we did.
No, absolutely not. And I honestly didn't think we would. It was going to be one of those moments where it's like, if they did win, then what do we believe? Because it's like, I mean, it's like, okay, I don't think we actually
Then we know what we've known all along
anything.
deep in our hearts. Anyways.
But yeah, now we have another year of movies to come out before the next Oscars. I actually didn't watch any of the Oscars. Like,
Yeah,
I
neither did
didn't
I.
watch any. I watched a couple like monologue clips on Reddit from Conan. And that was about it.
Yeah. Hey, did you mention you have a sick fight video that just got dropped?
I do. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, I have been training for a boxing event that's going to happen at the end of June. It's going to be live streamed. It's one of those like, it's a charity stream, so you do need to buy into it, but it's pretty cool. And if you're in Tampa Bay, Florida on June 28th, consider buying a ticket. It'll go towards cancer and it'll be a great time. And you might see me destroy another human being. Or you might see me get destroyed by another human being. Either way, I think we should watch this. I don't know if they have the YouTube version of it yet because that'll be formatted for widescreen. But it's still pretty good. I don't know. Can we stream
If
this
they
right now?
do, I can look. Let me just look before I go over to the stream.
I don't know if it's up on YouTube.
You don't think it is? Okay.
I kind of don't think it is. We can just watch the Instagram.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right, see, I'm moving the stream over.
Yeah, see if you like zoom in a little bit on that and definitely get some sound.
So this is just like a hype video, right?
You'll see.
Okay. With some sound. All right, let's go.
Oh,
I want to get hyped.
If you need to hear it,
I want to feel the urge for violence. Ooh, I can hear myself. I can be
it's gonna be
quiet.
hard to play it loud.
All right.
This summer, kill them with kindness. Nice guy versus other nice guy.
What I've heard about Trevor, he's like a really nice guy. I think I'm a really nice guy, so it's gonna be two nice guys cosplaying as killers.
I'm gonna feel bad punching him. You know, he seems like a likable dude, but I'm still gonna do it.
Little does he know, I'm not cosplaying. I'm actually the nice one.
The friggin' heart.
All sincerity, I'm gonna destroy you.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
I want Trevor to not be scared at all. I want Trevor to underestimate me.
Just you getting punched in the head.
No apologies.
I'm gonna lay you down, flat on your back on the mat. You're gonna wish that you never stepped into the ring with me.
No mercy.
That's pretty great.
That's pretty good.
It's gonna be a good time.
I love the bit where they're like, I hope he underestimates me, and they just cut to you just getting punched in the face over and over.
Yeah.
That's really good.
I have been punched in the face more times in the last month than my entire life combined.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. But I did a lot of combat sports as a kid.
Yeah. Are you getting better?
I am slowly getting better. It's it's surprising how much technique practice the technique just for a simple jab has been requiring, and I've just been working on that. My coach has been pushing me a lot. I'm a lot stronger with my right arm, so all of my crosses or my right hooks are a lot more powerful. But I'm learning that like the left, the jab, it doesn't really need to be powerful. It's more just kind of like keep people at bay. And I've been learning how to be a little bit more fluid and not so stiff. Every time I do a sparring session, I'm able to see a little bit more. Like the first few sparring sessions I had, I kept looking down, and just because like you get hit in the face once, and then like this innate lizard brain fear comes in, and you do not want to get hit in the face again. So, but you're also like, I have to go in and go fight. But so it's like I found myself like turtling up and like pointing my face straight down, and one time that resulted in me getting punched in the face with an uppercut. Ooh. Just because I had my arms out like this, and he just goes whack, just like right in the freaking nose, and I was like, oh. And when you get hit in the nose, it is shockingly painful. It is. That time I got hit in the nose, I didn't get a bloody nose from it, but like I couldn't open my eyes afterwards, and for like a solid minute, I'm just like, it was so painful. I literally could not open my eyelids at all. Just through the pain. And I've kind of gotten past that a little bit at this point. The following week, I ended up getting a pretty bloody nose. I posted it online, and everyone called it fake. Everyone's like, oh, that's not real. That's.
It just looks so thick.
Exactly. Yeah. It was, I think it was a little mucusy, so it was, it was a little thicker than just like regular blood, but it was a lot of blood. And it's also worth stating that like, the emotional toll boxing takes, like I have yet to have the last several boxing sparring sessions I've had, it ends with me just having my emotions completely wrecked. Like I'm like, by the time the match is ending, I'm almost crying, and then by the time it is ending, I'm just like on the ground, like tears streaming down my face. I'm not sad, I'm not upset. It's just like an emotional overload. Like the settings are clipping, they're just blasting out, and it's like my body is just shaking. It's kind of rough.
But you're starting to dial in a little bit?
I am dialing in a little bit. So like I was sparring against Dad Nathan Barnett on Monday, and we were going at it. We're actually doing like pretty legit sparring, and I managed to knock him to the ground.
Really?
I managed to get a shot. Like I hit him with the jab, and that kind of just threw his guard off a little bit, and I threw a right cross, and I caught him right in the forehead, and he just went down to his knees immediately. And he told me afterwards that it was super legit, and a couple weeks before then, I had been set to the ground in my sparring match, and he was like, why'd you do that? Like, did you do that on purpose, or were you doing a bit? I was like, no, I didn't know what happened. I was just on the ground. And so after Monday night, he told me, he's like, I get it now. I didn't mean to go to the ground, it just happened. But it's like, I'm starting to learn how to look up a little bit more, and starting to learn how to like react. Like, okay, he's throwing something here, I'm going to try to like just absorb that impact, and then use the jab as just like a distancer type thing, to kind of like, you want to give them something to kind of like look at and be distracted by, and then you can throw the jab. And then follow up with stronger punches around it. So it's a lot of just like ba 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 ba. So it's like 20% power on like most of the hits, and then the final hit you throw all your power into.
So you're kind of like trying to find an opening a little bit.
A little bit,
Make
yeah.
an opening.
And also what I'm learning is that like, it doesn't matter if they block it. If you're punching their glove and it's like Newton's cradle. That power is still transferring through. So I'm learning it's like, it's okay to punch their gloves. It's okay to punch their arm. They still feel that impact. So yeah, it's just been a lot of just every single day. It's starting to be a lot. It's starting to be a lot.
It's starting.
Yeah. Noah still with Corridor?
Noah.
Who's Noah?
That was Clint's cat.
Oh.
Jonah. No, Jonah's not with us right now.
Yeah, Jonah moved to Canada. He's working with Fenner.
Yeah. Good for him. Making it happen. The Beard Bros.
But yeah, for those of you interested in watching Creator Class crack, but with words, consider I think we should try to put the Tiltify link in the description to this podcast.
Is that the where you get a ticket?
Yeah. Or just creatorclash.com, I'm pretty sure.
That's the pay-per-view site?
Yeah, and it'll be the website that gives you all the information needed. You can buy tickets to the event. You can buy the pay-per-view if you want. But it's all, yeah, I'm a little confused by it because there's a Tiltify link and then there's the Creator Clash link. But yeah, because Ian, iDubbbz, they're very concerned about trying to get enough eyeballs on this because the first year was a huge success. The second year was the opposite of a huge success. Yeah. They lost a lot of money. It ended up being a kind of a big deal. So they're actually doing a really good job this year of trying to not make the same mistakes, try to correct a lot of the problems that they had, and to not lose money on this. So going into this event, a lot of the stuff's already paid for. So there should, at the bare minimum, be money going to charity this time around.
Nice.
And yeah, so they're trying to rely on the creators a lot more this time around to try to spread the word. So
yeah, I'm psyched.
And I'm hoping you guys might be able to be part of my walkout crew.
I would love to be part of the walkout. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, we still got to figure out those details. I'm at a point now where I'm like, okay, I have 4 more months, a little less than 4 months until the actual fight, which means I really need to start finding out how I'm going to get custom boxing shorts, how I'm going to get custom boxing shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Ideally, how I'm going to get custom boxing mitts. But maybe I have some nice Venom mitts right now that are black that I've been using. They're nice.
You know, Manzi worked on a costume for last year's Creator Clash.
That's right. For, I forget her name.
Marisha?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe I'll hit her up. Because, like, I just want to basically mocap theme everything. And then on top of that, have like some sort of robe and have all you guys wearing robes.
Yeah.
And all you guys are, because I wanted to walk
down to
out.
corpse painted up.
Ooh. I wanted to walk out carrying like a scythe, like just like the Grim Reaper scythe, but I don't think I'm going to be able to hold anything because not only do they tape your hands up, they also put the gloves on and tape the gloves on well in advance of walking out. So there's like, if you've ever had boxing gloves on, you can't hold anything.
Right.
It's very you can't really grip anything. And so I think there's almost no chance I'll be able to actually hold a pole or a scythe. So maybe we can just do something where all of you guys have scythes.
Do you think I can pull off a triple and be part of your walkout, part of Harley's walkout, and part of Freddy's walkout?
Dang. I mean, you'll have to talk with them, but that's kind of intense.
I'd have the best seat in the house for all 3 fights.
I also want Jenna to go, but she doesn't know if she'll have it off yet. And she's also
gotta
like,
go.
Oh,
She's gotta go. Yeah, Jenna, if you're in the chat, you gotta go to Ren's
Jenna,
fight.
request the time off now.
Speaking of going places, I went to New York this past weekend.
yeah, tell me about this trip.
So if you guys heard about in one of our podcasts, we're going to be in Times Square, and turns out we were in Times Square. It was actually really cool.
And when you say we were in Times Square,
so I got video of it. We'll pull it up on the podcast here on YouTube, or on the website. But basically, there's a giant billboard called the Megazilla in Times Square, and they play different chunks of that billboard. And for the whole week, YouTube is playing a shout out to the visual effects community. They did a whole celebration of the visual effects community. There's part of the Udall. We guys probably told you about it. They have that whole video up. It has like over 1 million views now.
over 4 million.
Over 4 million views now, which is incredible.
Yeah, because it uploaded a week early.
Right.
The whole YouTube push about this, where they actually changed the home screen and all that stuff, was going to be Sunday, March 2nd, the day of the Oscars. But they uploaded the video a week beforehand, and they told us the video was going to get a lot of views. And then the video goes up, and I checked it like after a couple days, and it was sitting at like 12,000 views or something like that. I was like, I mean, okay. And then I checked it again on Monday, and it was sitting at 4 million. I was
incredible.
like, whoa.
So I checked it right before the Udall played, and it was at almost 1 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the algorithm did pick it up.
Go figure. If YouTube wants you to see something, you will.
Do you think when they upload stuff to the YouTube channel, they're also hoping the algorithm works out for them? They're like, okay, I hope we get enough likes and engagement.
I do. But I'm also just like, but they also have the superpower of just being like, hey guys, push it.
I wonder. But they did have the superpower of effectively doing the hey push it, and by putting it in Times Square, they got in front of eyeballs. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I went to New York. I went to Times Square. Watched it happen. You can see it right here.
It's literally Times Square, like right there in the center.
Yeah.
This is YouTube's own Billboard. Like they own the thing.
Do they?
Yeah.
Wow, crazy.
Or at least it is their billboard. I don't know how. I mean, if they're leasing the billboard versus like they actually
But it's
own
definitely
it, I don't know.
YouTube's Billboard, yeah.
Yeah.
So the building that's you can see on the top left of the billboard there with the big concrete bit coming up.
Yeah.
That was the Viacom building back in the day. That and to the left of that, and that's where I had my internship when I was 22 years old.
Dude, so you're
Wow.
telling me that not only is your face on a billboard in Times Square, it's on the building you used to work in.
Yeah, as an intern.
Essentially.
Wow.
Coming up in the world.
Wow.
And I remember like Lonely Island had just finished doing Hot Rod.
Oh,
And
boy.
They had, there
Is
was
that the one where the dude broke his leg on the ramp?
Yes. And back then there weren't all these TV screens. Everything was, basically actual billboards and print and stuff like that. And they had a big Hot Rod campaign on the opposite side of the street. And like Lonely Island is like the holy grail of like YouTube sketch comedy guys.
Yeah.
Or internet sketch comedy guys. At least before, like in the early days, Channel 101, then the early days of YouTube, like Lonely Island just catapulted to like right
Well,
to the
because I
top.
remember I was like a freshman in college, so we're talking like 2007, 2008, and they were everywhere. Everyone was singing "I'm on a Boat."
Yeah.
It was like everyone would blast that out of their dorm room, and
Well,
it
they
was
got
like,
picked up by SNL.
okay,
from
yeah,
their
exactly.
work.
So it was like, yeah, it's a little SNL crew. Sorry, a little musical crew, and then they were on SNL doing the digital shorts. Like they really kind of pioneered the digital shorts. I
Yeah,
feel.
exactly. Yep. And they blew up. And I remember seeing the big ad on the other side of the street. It's like, man, I'm getting into this video stuff. Look at these guys. They did it. I can do it too. And then look at it. We finally got into a billboard in Times Square. It finally happened.
It just took. What year were you doing that?
That was when I was 22 years old. Now I'm like 39. So
17 years ago.
yeah, it was 2007.
Okay.
Yeah, something like
Okay.
that. Yeah, crazy.
Man,
But that was pretty neat.
did
Pretty
you do
solid
any
little
other cool
accomplishment.
things in New York?
Yeah, New York's amazing. I love
Because
New
I
York.
have never visited New York City.
New York is like the one of the few spots in America where there's history. Like, I mean,
Well.
don't take that the wrong way. What I'm meaning is this: like, you go to Europe, those streets are 1,000 years old. Some of those buildings are hundreds of years old, and like,
Yeah.
you dig into the ground and you find bones, and they make you stop digging so they can put up an archaeological,
I get what you're saying.
investigation.
Like compared to Europe, sure.
Yeah, there's history, and granted, there's history here too. But I'm talking about like American, like history, city history, like modern America, like.
I'm always surprised when I start learning, like the buildings that existed a lot longer ago than I realized in
Yeah.
New York City. It's like there was an actual like metropolis there
Back
like,
in the day.
200 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy because
Like, what do you mean 200 years ago?
the vast majority of American cities like are 50 years old, or like 100 years old. Like LA isn't that old. Like you
LA's
walk around,
about 100 years old.
right, but like the buildings when you go out around LA, like they're from like the 1970s, maybe the 60s. At the oldest, and everything else is newer. And yeah, there's like that one little spot in the middle of LA where they had the one building from the original,
Sure.
center of LA. But, the point is like, no matter where you go, whether it's like Chicago or, Chicago had the fire, San Francisco, LA, like, pick all your other cities and, Austin, Texas, like nothing's old in any of these cities. But then you go to like New York and there's like a church and there's gravestones with like the 1700s on them.
Oh my God.
And you're like, oh, history, some real old stuff, centuries and centuries ago. Yeah, because I kind of feel like everything after the Civil War is like modern, and then like pre-Civil War is kind of like getting back there in terms of American history. But like the 1700s to me is like real. You're starting to get actually old.
When was the Civil War? That was like 1870s?
1860s. Yeah. And I'm not like, obviously there's like Native American history. There's like actual like biological history. There's, obviously a ton of different kinds of history. But, I'm talking about like just modern American culture, like the cities, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, New York's crazy in that regard. There's
Guy in the
really
chat
old
is saying
things.
Los Angeles is 243 years old. And I
Right.
want to clarify there. I don't care how old it technically is. It was about 100 years ago that expansion truly began.
Yeah. It's like if
It was like early 1900s.
you walk down the street and you look with your eyeballs at the things around you, it's all relatively new. That's what it really boils down to, And in the vast majority of American cities, that's how it is. But you go to New York and you walk around, you look with your eyeballs, like there's old things, like really old things, and that's pretty cool.
I really want one of those like really nice apartments up on the 60th floor, downtown Manhattan. I just don't have $300 million to drop on an apartment.
Yeah, it's crazy. So my aunt actually lives in downtown Manhattan on the top floor of an apartment building.
What? I didn't know that. You said you were hanging out with her, but you didn't. What?
Well, so here's the thing. It's not like what you think. So my uncle, Babe, who passed away a while back, moved into their loft. It was like just a basic, like how we had it at Corridor. It was just a grungy warehouse loft back in 1969.
Nice.
And they've had that same loft since 1969.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's why they're still in it. And that's why they're still able to be in it, even though there's, places right next to them that are like $30,000 a month.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's crazy. But, it's like she's been there all my life. And so when I go to, I've gone to New York quite a bit. And so it's great to go there and see her and visit her. And, my uncle is an artist. His name is Babe Shapiro. He did all sorts of cool, geometric paintings back in the 70s and whatnot.
Okay, cool.
And so they're connected with the old art scene there, so you get to go to parties and meet cool old grungy artists and whatnot. And hear stories. Anyways, brought my kids. She got to hang out with them for a while. It was a good time, and it was really gratifying getting to do that, getting to see the Corridor billboard, and then got to say hi to Mike as well. So,
did you hang out with him at all? Much?
Yeah, we did a little walk over to Chinatown and met a fan at a bar randomly. And I was like, Niko, and the hug thing.
I thought you were about to dab. You're like, Niko.
Yeah, so that's cool. I love New York. It's I remember asking Casey Neistat. I can't remember. No, it wasn't. I didn't ask him. I remember reading somebody asked him, how do you make your daily vlogs? How do you think of the stories? I just go outside. And something happens every day in New York. So he just goes outside and films until something happens. Yeah. And that's you can feel that vibe. You can feel that energy. And the subway grunge in New York is a very special grunge. It's it's so art directed.
Art directed grunge.
You can't beat this New York subway grunge. It's perfect. Anyways, good stuff and pretty gratifying.
Yeah. One of these days I'll make it out to New York City. I keep hoping that there will be some sort of event that invites me out there and I can just go. But I think it's gonna have to be something where maybe Jen and I just go out for a weekend and just chill.
Hopefully, maybe for the next Creator Summit, they give you a shout and invite you out.
Maybe.
Because I got to go to the last one.
It's going to be another year, though. They're trying to do them every other year now.
Yeah. I love that YouTube does the Creator Summits because, it replaces what the old VidCon used to be.
Well, for you as a creator, perhaps.
No, that's what I mean.
That's for the viewers.
That's what I mean. For the old VidCon was for the creators.
Not really.
Way back in the day, the early VidCons. Those are all creators that went.
No, it was a lot of fans as well.
Really?
I only missed out on the first one, but I went from the second one onwards.
For me, it was all creators for the first 3 or 4 VidCons, and then it started opening up.
No. There was a lot of creators there because it was the only event for creators like that, so they were all interested in going. But viewers were still they still had attendance. They still had people showing up and their panels and all that stuff. But I think proportionately, I think you're probably correct. It's when you have a couple hundred creators showing up to a thing and maybe only a few hundred people, it's going to feel more like a creator thing. And now, VidCon, I don't know, I haven't been to VidCon in a while, but now you have, maybe a few hundred creators showing up, but several thousand attendees. It's
gotcha.
Proportionally, it seems different, perhaps.
Yeah.
My favorite event, by far, of the last 2 years is Open Sauce.
It sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds like the craziest science fair you've ever been to.
It is legitimately the craziest science fair ever because it's just a bunch of people with wacky ideas and just the craziness to actually follow through on them, and then to get a booth to show them off. And there's literally 1,000 booths of just crazy stuff. Yeah, and then I can't walk around the floor because then everyone recognizes me.
Yeah.
So it's as soon as I walk out on the floor to try to go look at some stuff, suddenly a line starts forming of people wanting to say hi, and I love it, so I can't complain. But then I just stand there for 3 hours straight taking selfies with people,
and eventually catching a cold.
Yeah. No, I don't think I caught a cold last time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can. It's a lot of fun, so I'm definitely looking forward to it this year. Oh, I connected the Open Sauce team with One Wheel, so hopefully Future Motion will have a presence at Open Sauce this year. I think that'd be cool because they're always doing like these like shows, you know, where it's like come try a one wheel. So hopefully this year people will actually be able to try it.
Yeah,
at Open Sauce.
That'd be cool.
But yeah, that's gonna be I think mid-July. I've got a weird July this year because it's like Open Sauce is mid-July, but also the fight is the very end of June. And so like basically rolling straight into July, I'm now free from training. I'm free from the struggle of trying to win a fight. And then also have a week vacation with my in-laws in Jenna up in Oregon and Open Sauce. And there's another thing too. I forget what it was, but it's like,
how are you going to manage that like postpartum depression that happens when you finish a big task that's like occupied so much of yourself?
I honestly don't really know. I don't know. I think I'll probably take some time off. I'll probably take a few weeks of just like
just
not
get really depressed.
Exercising. But I've been thinking about it because it's like I don't yet know if I want to continue doing boxing.
Right.
You know, I was chatting with Young about this. He's training Freddy, by the way. Mm-hmm. And Young is a fight coordinator. He's worked on several different movies. Most recently, the new Superman movie that's not out yet. He was a fight coordinator on. He was asking me, he was like, "Are you having fun?" And I honestly, I replied honestly, I don't know. I don't know if I'm having fun because it is so hard and so painful that it's very easy to lose sight of the fun. Mm-hmm. I think Monday night was the first time I actually started kind of enjoying the fight a little bit, even though I felt like I was dying. Because that's the other thing. When you start getting hit, the panic sets in. And that causes you to stop breathing. And then the stop not breathing suddenly makes you even more panicked. It's like this compounding effect. And that, yeah, it's really crazy when that starts happening. And so it's very easy to not find that fun. So I'm wondering what I'll do when this is all done. It's like, do I continue doing boxing now that I've made it a thing in my life? Now, ideally at this point, I will be a decent fighter-ish. Not like good, but like decent.
You could do a little like, sampler pack of like different martial arts.
I thought about that. Like maybe get into like Muay Thai a little bit or Krav Maga. I don't know.
Jiu-Jitsu.
Chances are I probably won't.
Kendo.
What I'm interested in getting into is calisthenics.
Oh.
Like I want to be able to do like really cool like movements with my body. I want to be able to do like a full planche or like handstand, all this crazy stuff because I've been getting really into like the fitness side.
You have a good
things.
sense of balance.
Thank you. I think I do.
You don't need to say you don't need to be modest.
But yeah, I don't know. It's like, what will I channel? Because what I do know is that I think I do want to continue channeling a lot of my energy into that personal fitness journey. But without that type of goal anymore, I don't know something else will need to take its place.
Yeah. I want to show you a visual effects shot.
Okay, I'm down.
So last podcast we did a week ago, I was talking about this like ambition I had to try some of these AI VFX, and I totally butchered a ton of like information. Like I said, one of the guys responsible for like coding a lot of these things, his name was Killjai. It's actually Kijai or something like that. There's no L at all. The guy that made the workflow that I'm experimenting with, his name is Zach Abrams, also known as All Hail the Algo.
All hail the algo.
And then I mentioned that this thing's called Flow Edit that I wanted to mess with and uses optical flow. That was completely wrong. It doesn't use optical flow at all. Anyways, I finished a test. I spent some time getting Comfy UI installed, and man, Comfy UI is getting nice.
Really?
Really snazzy and polished. They got a new interface. It kind of took me by surprise. And it's kind of like, imagine a piece of software where it lets you just load up any other effects software as a workflow. It's kind of crazy. Who knows where it's going to go, but like, I think there's big things in the future for Comfy UI.
I still have yet to ever touch Comfy UI.
Yeah.
I've never once used it.
It's amazing. I don't like the workflows and the things you can do with AI right now in Diffusion. Like, they're cool. They're super cool, but like for the most part, they're not quite there yet. They're really close, and you can get some specific things they work fantastic for right now. But
and like a year or two ago, that was honestly the main reason why I never really started diving into it, because there was a lot of time and effort to learn this stuff and to really get into it, just for it to completely change the next week.
Yeah,
and then you have to relearn
that's the
it. And I was
hardest
like,
part.
I just didn't have the bandwidth to do that, so I kept being like, I'm gonna wait for it to be a little bit more stable, more standardized. And then it just kept changing, and then I kind of just never really got into it.
Yeah. And like, I don't want people rolling their eyes at AI. Like, we're talking about AI again. It's like, that's not really what we're talking about right now. Like, we're talking about is effectively like an open source movement around another form of visual effects. Because it's not just like diffusion models. It's a whole bunch of different ways of visual processing. Like, you can touch Comfy UI and never touch an AI thing at all, and do a whole bunch of like image processing. And it basically just lets you load in any like GitHub project that somebody has made to process imagery, as long as somebody's like taking the time to make it work with Comfy UI.
Okay.
But that's everything from like converting things from, you know, video files to still images, or doing a Z depth extraction, or cutting out a mask, or just putting two videos together. Like, there's so many things you can do with it. It's kind of like this weird like mix of like Nuke and, I don't know, just like an operating system.
Weird. Okay. Because doesn't it run in the browser?
It runs, well, kind of. So you interface with it through the browser, but it's running as like
As a standard
a
program?
full-on Python program in the background.
Like a .exe?
No,
Not
it's
quite?
a Python file.
Okay.
Yeah, you launch like a batch file that like passes arguments to a Python executable, like, or whatever, you know, like, and it runs a script. And I don't know. I still don't know a lot about coding. I've been delving in little by little. But yeah, they do have an exe now. They did make an installer file.
Okay.
Yeah, so you like, but I run into a thing called a portable install, which is just a folder, so I can put that folder on any computer and it'll work.
Right.
Which I really like.
Yeah. Okay. There was a time period where I started getting into Python a little bit, and that was because I was trying to get into neural radiance fields at the time. And at the time, it was just this NVIDIA thing, and you had to like run all this Python code, and you had to launch this stuff from a command window. And you literally ran all the training and all the stuff you had to do. You had to like type in the commands, and you had to like copy and paste these commands in to make it work. And I learned enough Python to get me to that point. And then all of that nerf stuff started becoming like automated. Like, now you can just do it through an app.
Yeah, that's a dangerous thing. Is like, everybody's on it now, so like, you might be like, oh, I'll be the first to figure this thing out. And then it takes you a week or two to get around to like figuring it out. And by then, like, a company has formed around the thing, and they're doing it, you know, with professionals that spend every day working on it. You're like, oh, okay, well, never mind. I'll just use their software.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned Pinocchio, by the way, which is...
What's Pinocchio?
Pinocchio, spelled with a K. Pinokio.
I'm assuming it's a program and not a cartoon.
It's a really cool thing that a project this guy made, where it's basically like a one-click install for like any AI visual tool, or like, once again, like the AI buzzword is such a catch-all, because like, you know, it's basically like research, image and video computer vision research tools, right? Anything that somebody's working on, this guy's basically making a one-click installer. So you can do a one-click install for Comfy, you can do a one-click install for very, like, you know, a time interpolator that gives you slow motion. You can do a one-click install for like basically any like GitHub project that this person's taking the time to encapsulate in Pinocchio. It's pretty wonderful. Anyways, this is a lot of talk for what I want to show you. So I did the flow edit test, and I took
the flow edit.
Yeah, so I took a video of you that we actually did for the AI scam debunk video, where you're just walking around and your mouth's not moving. I took the first frame, and I just used like an in-painting, like you would in Photoshop, to change you into like a zombie. I literally just took the first result. It's weird. Your face is green and your arms were purple.
Cool.
But you're all gross looking.
Classic.
And I ran that through Flow Edit here, and that's this thing that basically lets you take that first frame and use a video AI model to propagate that first frame's style change across the rest of the video, using your source video as the driving video. In other words, it's basically a way to kind of like deep fake anything. You just edit it on the first frame of the video, and then it propagates that through the video. Another way I might think of it is like a hyper fancy EV synth that can also invent detail and paint things out.
Okay, that makes sense to me. I'm following.
So take a quick look here. Tell me what you think. It's a little low res, it's 480p. But here we go.
Whoa. Oh, that was it.
Oh, here we go. So your face is green at the beginning, then turns purple.
Oh, yeah. Can you pause on that first frame? So that's what you made?
That's what I made. That's what I gave it. And the video, you know, I'm sorry, I don't have the raw video. I didn't send it to Christian here for the podcast. But imagine literally the exact same thing, but just with Wren, with you looking normally. And you're actually not talking. Your mouth is closed.
I'm pretty impressed by like the temporal consistency.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
For like and it's following my head. That's not my hair, though, is it? No,
no,
okay,
and that's not your
hair.
head
That's
shape.
new hair.
In fact, it's doing paint out.
Yeah.
It's actually changing your silhouette and your shape, too. It's pretty crazy.
Why did it change to purple?
I think because it just knew like it couldn't handle your arms being a different color than your face. Because it's a visual pattern matching system, right?
Sure.
How many people have different colored faces from their arms? You know, and so it's falling back. Like if I trained a LoRa or trained the concept in, it would work. But you know, right now it's just
Yeah.
falling back on the data that it knows.
It is kind of funny though. It comes back to the classic problem AI stuff has, which is it's very hard to art direct it. It's like, what if you wanted it to be a green face?
That's the hardest thing is art directing AI, and that's what needs to be solved for people to use it as artists. You need to be able to art direct it.
Yeah.
And to me, this is letting me art direct it. Right.
Yeah.
I designed the first frame. I tried another test where I literally just doodled on your face with like Microsoft Paint, and it worked.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's like you can truly art direct things however you want, and then propagate it through the video, kind of however you want. And here's the thing: like this whole video is an AI generated video. It
Right,
looks
it's generating
identical.
everything.
Generating everything. Because the thing is, like, look at the fire extinguisher text or like the text on the shirt underneath the corridor. But the thing is, this model's good enough to handle text that's big enough to see. So the corridor text is readable.
Because
and
it's
stays
now
corridor.
it's no different than any of the other shapes in the background.
Right.
But when the shapes start getting small enough that it just becomes a little bit like noise, that's when it falls apart.
Yeah.
Interesting. But what you could do is you could take this, roto out all of the generated features you want to keep, and then put that on the original
Exactly.
footage.
You could.
But when we did a little bit of testing over this, the temporalness did change a little bit. It kind of
little bit.
stabilized the video.
Now that was using Pika Labs.
Right.
Or
But I
Pika-
imagine
not Pika Labs,
that
Pika Art.
process is going to be a little similar across a bunch of these different LLMs because it's like,
That's a good question.
or I guess this wouldn't be an LLM, would it?
No, this is not a large language model.
Right,
This is
so,
video diffusion with flow.
But like
edit.
these models, right? It's
Yeah.
if you have like it's like a keyframe thing, like an iframe thing.
Well,
Almost,
yeah,
where
it's a video. It's a video generative model that's been hyper constrained to the parameters that we set forth, using things like forcing it to render the original video underneath for a few steps of the diffusion process, or giving it a specific frame with the art direction on it. So it should match pretty closely, but
it doesn't.
It might
match,
not.
It doesn't match frame to frame. It's like it's
Yeah,
almost like
not
it's dropping
necessarily.
frames of the original motion.
Yeah.
And so at least in using the Pika stuff that I experimented with, like when you lay it back on the original, some of that motion doesn't match.
Right, because if I said you were dancing here, it would add a little bit of that movement to you. So it will change the movement.
Right.
Because once again, it's a video model. It's not just doing a frame by frame filter. It's also understanding how things move through the frames. And not just like propagating something, but actually moving. Like hence your mouth opening and your muscles flexing a little bit. You know? You see how your cheeks pull back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now run this through that Starlight.
I am
thing.
actually doing that as
Are
we
you really?
speak.
Whoa.
That is in progress. Also, there's this is a 480p output. There's also a 720p output version that I'm running. Now, this took 17 minutes to render.
Dang.
Yeah. 3 seconds. Took 17 minutes to render.
I mean, that's still a lot faster than a lot of CG renders.
That's true. You see, I'm really glad that we got into visual effects early enough that we were okay with slow renders. Back in the day when like a single frame of 3D would take like 3 minutes to render, like, so be it, because I'll wait all night. Like, now it's like, okay, I'm used to it. It's not a big deal. It doesn't hurt as much. Like you getting punched in the face, like I'm used to 3-minute frames.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Actually, I believe it's actually 50 seconds a frame on this. I could be wrong. I can't remember. Either way, it took 17 minutes to render, and I imagine that the 720p one is going to take even longer. And there's all these like optimizations you can do, but once again, it takes hours to implement all that stuff. And in like 1 week, there's going to be new models that are better, and I'm just going to like relearn everything, and everybody needs to recode everything.
That was exactly what I was just talking about. That's why I haven't gotten into it.
Because like my whole process here is I just need to be good enough. Once something's good enough, you freeze and you make your project, whatever you want to make with it. And then once you're done with your project, you unfreeze and you figure out what's the new frontier if you want to jump back in.
That was exactly what you guys did with Anime Rock Paper Scissors 1 and 2,
Yep, it was good enough. Freeze our tech, make the project.
as opposed to advancing your tech mid project.
Yes.
It's like another pro tip: never update your program in the middle of a project. Doesn't matter if the new one's really cool. Just stick with it. Finish your project, then you can update.
Yep. Yeah. Anyways, this is WAN video. Yes, awful.dan. However, it's using the Hunyuan flow edit wrappers. So it's just
Flow
yeah.
edit wrapper.
Check out All Hail the Algo at All Hail the Algo. Or type in like Zach Abrams Flow Edit or something like that into Google, and you'll see one of his workflows.
So the Flow Edit is the stuff that's doing like the EB Synth type thing, like the optical flow type.
There's no optical flow actually.
Well, optical flow type.
There's actually maybe yes, optical flow type. It looks like optical flow, but Flow Edit. Once again, I didn't read it too deeply, so I'm probably gonna screw it up again here. But my understanding is when you're taking a video and you want to like do an image to image conversion, you decide how much you want to add noise to that video or image, for example. So I have the original image of you just standing there and doing your thing, and I can decide to add a little bit of noise, which might let it change a few features a little bit, or I can add a lot of noise to the point where it completely forgets the base video because it's pure noise.
Oh, interesting.
And so Flow Edit lets you, in these steps, control when it's adding noise and when it's using the original video. So it lets you kind of push it away from the video based on your prompts, but then you can stop how far it's pushing away from the video and then keep it, without denoising it further. You keep some of the original details.
Okay.
And I don't know where the motion propagation comes from, but yeah, I have not read the white paper. I very much briefly glanced at the illustrations in it and read the first couple lines of the first couple paragraphs. Look, it was busy. I had to installing all this stuff takes hours. All right, I was going as fast as I could. I just wanted it to work, and it worked. So
Sick.
Whatever.
I'm most curious about trying to drive renders with this type of AI stuff, because it's like,
yeah, we're talking about the dinosaur video.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm very curious about making a render of a dinosaur that's already tracked into a shot. It's already animated, but you don't have to put in all of the extra, that final 10% detail into making it look really good, making sure the animation is super, super tight.
It's dial in all your highlights and your exposure values and the finding little details and it's color grade it. You're now going to compositing, match all the lens characteristics.
I do like doing that, but at the same time, it is a lot of work.
I like doing it. I don't like doing it for 100 shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how doable it is and how accurate it would be to what I want to be able to have. Because it's if I'm going to do a video about the scale of dinosaurs and I want to show off how large a velociraptor really is,
you have to
I have to
it.
dial that in exactly how I want. I have to literally scale out my scene, make CG objects that are at a very specific height that I know of that are the same height as things that are in that shot. Usually I just put a 6-foot tall cylinder. If I'm standing in the scene, I'll just put that and I'll match it up to me, and that's good enough. And then you match the lighting for it. Great. Now I have a scene. I put anything in it, it'll render and it'll match the shot. But if you just take a shot and be type, add a dinosaur.
Yeah.
It's not going to do anything that you actually want. Even if you're
Correct.
add a velociraptor with feathers and make it small. It's still going to be too big, or it might be too small. It's not going to look right. It's not going to do what I want it to do. But if I can go through and be I'm going to download a janky 3D model of a velociraptor that's rigged, and I can just do some relatively simple animation to it. It just kind of walks around, moves its head a little bit, but I scale it correctly. I get it exactly where I want in the shot, and then I render out the grayscale version of that, some super, super quick render, then run that through this process. Just make it pretty. I'm very curious how well that would work.
Me too. And that's one of the things I'm hoping to. Part of why I'm doing this is to figure that out. Because, let's say you take a janky render, give me the first frame now, I bring it into Photoshop, do a little generative infill in Photoshop, kick it back out. Now you got your render. I don't know though. I really don't know. And that's one of the exciting things about the projects that we get to do. It's it still strikes me as strange that movie studios aren't 4 years ahead of us in terms of technology.
Well, it's like you said, they're so entrenched in their project, they can't just update the tech mid-project.
I know, but I'm also kind of surprised they're not. I mean, maybe some are, but I'm surprised that a lot of visual effects houses aren't basically being the teams here putting out these I'm surprised it's not a visual effects shop that's dropping these video models or that's working on comfy UI nodes. I'm surprised it's the computer science side.
What money is in it?
Well, there's money in it. Think about paintouts. Think about rotoscoping.
But you're talking about you're wanting a VFX house.
No, you're right.
To do this,
there's no money in it.
And their money
because there's no money in
is to
VFX.
make movies. And I'm certain they have R&D teams that are
Yeah.
like all of the
I think I need to walk
VFX
that back.
houses are working on all this stuff. They're all experimenting with deepfakes when deepfakes were starting to become a big deal.
Right.
They're all like experimenting with these generative models, but none of them are posting any of it. That's the
Right.
thing. They're all keeping it in-house. They're
I
trying
think-
to figure out how they can leverage it for their own thing without giving away the secrets to their competitors.
That makes sense. I also think like it's more that like growing up and trying to break into VFX. Like I always felt like the VFX shops had these incredible programs behind the scenes, which they did. You know, like what is like, oh, we invented Massive. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh well, there's no Massive plugin for my 3ds Max version 3. You know, but I think that's since changed quite a bit. You know, granted, Weta still has their Loki physics simulator.
Oh yeah, I mean they've definitely got like their proprietary tools, but I know that Weta started selling a lot of their proprietary tools. Like I forget the names of the plugins, but they have like the muscle simulation software for like
Right.
horses and stuff like that, and skin and the bones, all that stuff that we've talked about many times before. It's like they sell that. You can buy that.
Yeah. Then you also realize it's hyper complicated to use any of that stuff, and
Yeah.
it has incredible time investments.
It's not consumer software. It is like
right.
like professional software. It's hard. And now these days, you know, now what was it was it a short film or a feature length movie? Flow that was made entirely in
Yeah.
Blender. Just
they won
an
the
Oscar.
Oscar.
And they
Yeah.
won.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And he thanked the guy who went up there. Thanked Blender in
Yep.
his speech.
He shouted out Blender in his
How
acceptance
cool is
speech.
that?
That's rad. I mean, hey, it shows you how like media is transforming, and like how the tools that were previously really inaccessible have become very accessible, and not just like in terms of hardware, but also in terms of money. Yeah.
I mean, and that change is exactly what got me into this. Probably what got you into this. It was like, you know, around like 2008 to 2010, 11 or so. It was like, wow, nice cameras are now affordable. Wow, you can actually do effects on your home computer? Thank you, Andrew Kramer. I had no idea you could do any of this. And now it's just so normalized that we take it for granted.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. I think I've asked you this before, but do you ever worry about somebody being able to do something that took you a long time to do, or that took you a big time or money investment to be able to do?
Do I worry about it? No. Do I think about it? Yeah. You know, it's like I worry more about the direction of entertainment in general with the AI stuff. It's like at some point there's going to be some sort of automated avatar that's generated that's super funny, super smart, exactly what a viewer wants in entertainment. And why would they go to anyone else if it has all the charm of a real person? You can't tell that it's not a real person. Right now, it's very easy to tell. There's all of the stuff about it. But like at some point, we got to just kind of accept that maybe this will be a lot better than any individual person. At what point am I, as an on-screen personality, obsolete? I don't know. This is all speculation on the future. So that's a little bit more of a concern for me than like, I think back to when I made that Harry Potter short film in the summer of 2013, and I spent like half a year on it.
Yeah.
And that was the most ambitious project of my life. It was like a freaking 11-minute short film, and I had never done any sort of smoke simulations before. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put a bunch of them in this thing. I had to learn how to do all of that and then do it across, I think I had like 120 VFX shots in that thing, and half of them had smoke simulations in them. The other half had crazy like spell effects that were in it. It was a great experience for me because it pushed me to learn a bunch of stuff. It's always good to have an ambitious goal to work towards to push your learning, and I will never like regret that.
Yeah.
But these days, you can literally just prompt that. You can prompt, I want a wizard to like teleport in with a smoke trail, and it will now just exist. It took you all of 30 seconds to make this thing. Does that upset me? I don't think so. I don't think that upsets me, because now that just means that I can continue making stuff with less effort, which means that I can make more stuff. That's kind of how I see it. And I don't think it's a bad thing for more people to have a creative voice.
Right.
Like, because this is lowering the what's the phrase?
The bar to entry.
Bar to entry. Yeah, this is lowering the bar to entry for people who have creative voices, who have creative minds, but maybe don't have the technical skill set to back it up and to implement it. And now they can.
Yeah, I mean the natural economic impact of that is, when you have more supply, And the same demand, so to speak, like the price goes down. And so it's like the price of media, what you're going to get as an artist can go down, unless what the demand isn't just I want media in general. If the demand is I want your media, I want what you do, that changes things.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're getting into art and media and visual effects and video making, think about what you do that's special and not what you can do that's generic, because generic's going to be cheap and easy. It already is cheap and easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's how the way the world works, Let's get real. Digital video making didn't even exist 25 years ago, so let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. And for those of you saying, I want more corridor videos, well, guess what? We have a really cool one coming out this weekend.
Yeah, next 2 weeks.
Well, what's the other one?
3D printer.
Oh, right. Yeah, I guess I don't see that as a corridor video,
Yeah,
but I guess it totally is.
Probably will be.
But yeah, no, this Pokeball video Sam's been working on is actually super freaking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the concept is very longest lightsaber-ish. It's like, oh, I made a Pokeball that keeps growing every time it sucks something up. But Sam's like, I want to have the coolest, dopest looking particle simulations of stuff dissolving as it gets sucked into the Pokeball. And he says that, I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then I see it, I'm like, okay, cool.
Well, Sam was saying to me, it's like we have this React show. It's like you gotta put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
If we're gonna talk the talk, you gotta walk the walk. And the funny thing is, like, you shot a cell phone, I don't care about that. He's like, I don't care about how janky the cinematography is. He's like, I gotta make sure the VFX look cool.
Yeah, and there's also still always an element of like that scrappiness to it, like using some AI in-painting tools, like not AI, catch-all phrase, the friggin' like the After Effects paint out in-painting stuff. Constant aware fill, that's the phrase I'm looking for, where it's just like it has some jankiness to it. You can always tell if you know what to look for, like hard lines going through the middle of a shot. Yeah. I was recompositing a shot he had worked on where like you get teleported into the shot, and like the whole background behind you, like there's this area where you'd been in-painted out and it pops back to the original footage, and it was bothering me, so I had to go through and just like track back in like a still frame from when you moved out of the way over that, so that it made that just a little less obvious. And yeah, I don't know, but part of me is like, Sam's always been very good at working on the things that people will notice and putting effort and points into those areas rather than the stuff that no one really notices or cares about.
That's so important.
Even though those other things will take just as much time.
Yeah.
That's why I've always said, like, Sam is the best artist to take it to 85%. He is so much faster and so much better than almost any artist I know at taking it to 85%.
Yeah.
And from there onwards, there's plenty of other artists out there, I'm sure, that are better than any of us here that, can take it to 100%. And that's the thing about movies. Mm-hmm. Movies have to be at 100%.
Yeah.
You get laughed out of the theater if you got like weird janky paintouts and stuff. You end up on our couch. Yeah.
But I think there's something really important in making sure that like your projects feel like they could be made. Or the person watching, like when a person watches a corridor video, it's good if they feel like they could make it if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no way I could ever make that. Like, I like when somebody watches a video like, oh, yeah, I mean, it was a lot of work and it would take me a lot of time, but I have a cell phone, I have friends, the software is available, the tutorials are there, I could make it if I really wanted to. And I like that accessibility with videos. And if they get too polished and they cross that line, the judgment changes. And the way people feel about it changes.
Which we kind of suffered from a little bit in the earlier days of Corridor, where it was like, that was our thing, was trying to make something no one else could make.
Right.
Putting in all of the production quality, all the visual effects, the cinematography, the sound design, the music, the color grading, the polish, all of it. No one else was really making short films of that caliber, especially not every other week like we were.
Right.
But like because of it, I don't know. I think we were a slightly different case because it's like anytime you get too polished, it can kind of come across like, oh, you just have... it's corporate media, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think
media.
we always still had that sort of vibe of like, no, it's not corporate. It's literally just us doing it. We're decent at making it look better than just jank.
Right.
But that being said, we can never fully get rid of the jank.
No, just gotta embrace
There's always
it.
a little bit there.
That's why you embrace the jank. It's funny like hearing comments from people being like, I've never heard that word before.
I started seeing that recently. People have been like, I've never heard that word janky before until I started seeing you guys use it. And I don't know how I feel about that.
It seems like such an obvious word.
But like, did we come up with that? I don't think
no,
so.
it's definitely like a Midwest thing at least, but it's like it's one of those words where like you don't need to look up the definition because you can just hear what it is and the sound of the word.
You can tell because of the way it is.
It's like the balloon popped. It's like, I know what pop means now. I can just hear the word.
It's a very contextual word.
Yeah. Jank is the spice of life.
It's a perfectly cromulent word, unlike the word cromulent, which I don't know what that means. I keep thinking of a croissant.
Croissant. Cromulent. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude the podcast, but it's not going to conclude the hangout. We're going to hang out in the after party here on corridordigital.com. If you're listening and you're not a member, please consider subscribing. It's a good time. We got the vlogs. We've got the extended reacts. You can read the chat. Everybody's talking about how sick it is.
Oh,
all right.
Steve the landlord had a whole special. We had a whole special about him.
Oh, wow.
On the vlogs this week. It's a good episode.
Yeah.
Also, we filmed an episode about earthquakes. It's not an episode. We made a video about earthquakes, and we simulated the entire building going through various levels of destruction, magnitudes up to like over a 7. And watching the whole studio just get destroyed was eye-opening. Yeah. Anyway, for that video, we had Steve come in and tell us about all the retrofits he did to the building. So there's a lot more Steve content coming soon.
Yeah, I got some real history of LA and his stories. It's pretty good.
But we could talk about more of that in the after party here. So thanks for listening, everyone. Maybe next week we can get another cast member here to chat with us. Maybe it'll be Sam.
Yeah. All right. Bye-bye, YouTube. And Spotify and whoever else is listening wherever.